In a world where metal remembers and blood can whisper, one stolen relic ignited a revolution. The streets of Zilverin were built on ashes and secrets, and Ceres' fane, a thief born of hunger and fury, became the spark that burned through them all. But every spark leaves scars. After the blood eclipse, when gods and monsters fell silent, Ceres was left to face what came after the legend: the weight of peace, the cost of victory, and the truth that endings are never truly ends. What happens when the war is over, but the echoes refuse to die? Today we're diving into Quicksilver by Callie Hart, a gritty, dark, and intoxicating fantasy that stitches together thievery, alchemy, fake courts, and a heroine who will do anything to save the people she loves. The story begins under the heavy, rust-colored skies of Zilverin, a city divided by iron walls and merciless hierarchies. Ceres' fane, a young thief hardened by hunger and loss, makes her daring climb up the towering hub wall. Every breath burns her lungs. Every scrape of her fingers reminds her that she doesn't belong in the light of the upper districts. She's not just running from the guards. She's running from a life that has always told her she's nothing. When she snatches a guardian's gauntlet, it feels like she's stolen a fragment of the god's own armor. The metal thrums under her skin, alive, whispering secrets she can't yet understand. As she clings to the wall, chased by torchlight and shouts, Ceres tastes both freedom and danger for the first time. By the time she reaches safety, the line between courage and recklessness has already blurred beyond recognition. The gauntlet hums in her satchel, promising salvation and disaster in equal measure. Ceres slips through the back streets until she reaches the old workshop of Elroy, a glassmaker who's seen better days but never stopped caring for her. The smell of molten sand and burning oil fills the air as she presents her prize, the Guardian's gauntlet. Elroy's lined face pales. He knows this kind of relic isn't just forbidden, it's fatal to touch. He tells her to melt it down and forget it ever existed. But Ceres' mind is already racing ahead to Hayden, her younger brother, and how this treasure could buy his way into the academy. When Carrion Swift appears later in the tavern, his easy grin masking greed and curiosity, she realizes rumors of her theft have already spread. The third ward is alive with whispers, and none of them are kind. As Ceres stares at the gauntlet's sheen, she sees her reflection twist and shift. The Quicksilver veins pulse faintly inside the metal, as if something alive is looking back at her. By dawn, everything unravels. The Guardians arrive in the third ward, their black armor gleaming like liquid night. Ceres rushes home to find Hayden already holding the satchel. He's just a boy trying to help, but his fear has doomed them both. The Guardians crash through their fragile home, tearing everything apart. Ceres acts on instinct, diving between blades, striking out with a ferocity born of desperation. The chase through the alleys is fast, bloody, and filled with dread. When she finally corners Hayden, clutching the gauntlet, she sees how terrified he is, not of dying, but of disappointing her. In that moment, Ceres realizes what the Guardians never will: love can be the most dangerous rebellion. The night ends with fire and broken glass, and the gauntlet's whisper growing louder in her mind. The aftermath is brutal. The Guardians leave a trail of ruin, and Ceres bears the blame for it all. She can't sleep. The image of Hayden's pale face haunts her every breath. Elroy's warnings echo in her head, but guilt is a heavier weight than fear. She decides to seek out someone who can tell her what the gauntlet truly is. Along the way, she's forced to barter, steal, and fight just to move unnoticed. The Quicksilver inside the relic reacts to her blood, glowing faintly whenever she touches it. It calls to her, an unholy song that promises power. But Ceres begins to understand that power always demands payment. The more she listens, the more she feels herself changing. Quicker, sharper, but also colder. The city, meanwhile, watches her like a beast waiting to pounce. Ceres meets a man known only as the Heretic, an alchemist exiled for his forbidden experiments. His lab is a maze of shattered glass, iron crucibles, and strange fumes. He studies the gauntlet with awe and terror, murmuring that its design isn't of Guardian craft but something older, something touched by the Fae. He warns her that Quicksilver isn't merely metal, it's alive, bonded by memory and intent. When he tries to touch it, it burns him. Ceres sees, for the first time, how her theft has crossed from survival into sacrilege. Still, she refuses to hand it over. The heretic laughs, telling her that the gauntlet chose her, whether she wants it or not. In Everlane, the city's shadow market, Sayuri searches for someone willing to buy or hide the gauntlet. The market is a chaos of masks, perfumes, and whispered deals. Here, Sayuri feels at home, yet hunted. Carrion Swift reappears, smooth-talking and dangerous, offering help that feels too convenient. He introduces her to traders who claim to work with the Fae, promising passage out of the city. But nothing in Everlane is free. When a trap is sprung, Sayuri barely escapes with her life, realizing Swift's interest was never in helping her, it was in owning the power she carries. She leaves Everlane with bruises, scars, and the sickening realization that the gauntlet's value could destroy kingdoms. Sayuri is cornered by a mercenary nicknamed the Dog, a hulking bounty hunter who serves whoever pays most. Their fight is raw, brutal, and nearly fatal. As she struggles against him, the gauntlet flares in her grasp, sending silver fire coursing through his veins. He collapses, convulsing, eyes wide with terror. Sayuri staggers back, horrified. Whatever force dwells in that relic isn't asleep anymore. The dog's dying words, "It remembers you," chill her to the bone. From that night on, Sayuri begins to hear whispers even when the gauntlet isn't near. Voices, overlapping, as if the metal carries echoes of the dead. Desperate for answers, Sayuri seeks out a new ally, a reclusive alchemist named Varen who hides in the ruins beyond the wards. Varen teaches her the basics of binding and the properties of metals touched by Quicksilver. Their uneasy alliance reveals that the gauntlet was part of a larger experiment, a relic meant to bridge mortal and Fae realms. Sayuri learns to draw patterns in mercury, to channel her emotions through metal. The process is painful and mesmerizing, as if the Quicksilver feeds on her will. Each night, she dreams of silver rivers and shadowed figures calling her name. Varen warns her that the gauntlet isn't done testing her. When the Guardians raid the outskirts again, Sayuri sees how far their cruelty spreads. Innocent families are dragged away, accused of harboring thieves and heretics. Sayuri's anger becomes purpose. For the first time, she fights not to run, but to protect. She uses what Varen taught her, wielding her new power in small, desperate bursts. The Quicksilver obeys her partially, like a wild animal leashed only by willpower. The people begin whispering her name as a ghost, a warning, a savior. Sayuri doesn't believe she's either, but she can't deny how the power inside her is changing her heart. Starvation drives Sayuri back into the city. She discovers that Hayden's disappearance has drawn attention from the upper wards. Wanted posters with her face spread through Zilverin. She's now both myth and monster. Carrion Swift reappears again, this time beaten and half dead, offering information in exchange for protection. He tells her about the Queen's collectors, agents who harvest Quicksilver-infused blood. Sayuri realizes she's not the only one altered. Others like her exist, broken vessels scattered throughout the city. Each of them represents another piece of a deadly experiment. The realization leaves her shaken, but determined to uncover who started it all. The chapter opens with Sayuri infiltrating a trade house to steal records of the Queen's experiments. She discovers files listing names, dates, and experiments conducted on orphan children, including Hayden's. Her heart fractures. She barely escapes with the documents, swallowing her grief and rage. The gauntlet's pulse aligns with her heartbeat, each throb a reminder of her vow. She will burn the system that made this possible. As she hides among the rooftops, she watches the city lights flicker like dying stars and swears she'll never be powerless again. Sayuri meets a spy known as Fox, an informant who trades secrets like currency. Fox is sly, unpredictable, and carries a charm that unsettles her. He helps decode the stolen documents, revealing that the experiments were designed to create weapons, living conduits for Quicksilver. Sayuri might already be one of them. As they travel together, trust flickers between them, fragile and real. But betrayal lingers in every shadow. When Fox disappears after leading her into an ambush, Sayuri learns the hardest lesson of all. Trust is the rarest metal in Zilverin. Captured and interrogated, Sayuri faces the full might of the Queen's collectors. They chain her, test her blood, and marvel at her resistance. The gauntlet, hidden but alive, reacts violently, flooding her veins with light. She breaks free, leaving ruin in her wake. This chapter marks a brutal turning point. Summaries is no longer just surviving. She's awakening. Her connection with the Quicksilver becomes symbiotic. It feeds on her rage, amplifies it. When she looks at her reflection afterward, she hardly recognizes herself. Summaries finds herself in a new alliance with rebels who oppose the Queen's rule. Among them, she learns about contracts sealed in blood and the laws of magic that govern binding. Every bargain has a fine print, and every rebellion has a price. The rebels see Summaries as a weapon, but she begins to question what freedom means if she becomes the thing she hates. Her growing control over the Quicksilver frightens even her allies. One night, she dreams of the gauntlet splitting open like a flower of light, whispering her true name, a name not meant for mortal tongues. Sarush, the Queen's warlord, enters the story like a storm, towering, ruthless, and yet strangely fascinated by Summaries. Their first confrontation crackles with tension. He sees in her the future of power, something neither fully human nor fey. Their battle isn't just physical, it's a clash of ideology. Sarush believes order demands sacrifice, while Summaries fights for chaos that births freedom. Their duel leaves the earth scorched, the air heavy with silver mist. By its end, both bear scars. Hers glow faintly, his burn deep. As she limps away, Summaries knows this is only the beginning. Sarush will come for her again, and next time, she might not have the strength to run. The city's underbelly hums with dread as Summaries discovers the existence of a hidden portal, an ancient passage called the Shadow Gate. It is said to be a relic of the first Fey incursion, a threshold between the mortal and immortal worlds. The rebels want her to destroy it before the Queen can harness its power, but the gauntlet seems to resonate with it instead, humming like a heartbeat beneath her skin. When she approaches the gate, the silver within her veins reacts violently, pulling her forward as if recognizing a homecoming. She witnesses fragments of memory that aren't her own, visions of past wielders, of blood sacrifices and broken promises. Terrified yet entranced, Summaries steps away, realizing that she has become the key to opening the gate. The rebels look at her with awe and fear. For the first time, Summaries understands she is no longer simply part of the rebellion. She is its weapon, its curse, and perhaps its undoing. Callie, the city of artisans and forgers, becomes Summaries' refuge for a brief time. She hides in the workshops, learning from the smiths who shape metal into art and tools. But even among them, she feels the pull of the gauntlet, urging her to experiment, to test her limits. She meets a quiet craftsman named Iron who sees her not as a weapon, but as a person scarred by power. Under his guidance, she begins to forge new alloys, melding silver, Quicksilver, and her own blood. The process is dangerous, each strike of the hammer echoing with unseen voices. One night, as she works, the forge erupts in silver flame, and a strange rune burns itself into her palm. Iron, awed and afraid, kneels before her, whispering that she carries the mark of the first alchemist. Summaries doesn't understand what that means yet, but the knowledge stirs unease in her soul. When the Queen's army descends upon Callie, Summaries is forced to make a stand. The chapter unfolds in smoke and chaos as she fights not only the soldiers but the Quicksilver within her that threatens to consume everything. The gauntlet merges partially with her skin, fusing metal and flesh as she channels waves of energy through her hands. The heat, the screaming, and the scent of molten iron fill the air. In the aftermath, Summaries stands in the ruins, alive but trembling. The power she unleashed saved lives, but it also revealed her to the world. News of a silver-blooded thief spreads beyond Zilveran's walls, reaching ears in the Fey courts. The crucible marks her transformation. She can never return to anonymity again. Haunted by the destruction she caused, Summaries makes a solemn vow over the ashes of the fallen. She swears to learn control, to use her abilities for protection, not vengeance. Varen finds her again and takes her to the outskirts, where old ruins of the first gate still stand. There, he forces her to meditate on the Quicksilver's voice. Through pain and memory, she realizes that the element is not evil, it is bound by intention. Whatever she wills, it reflects. When she focuses on healing rather than harm, the silver softens, shimmering like water instead of flame. The moment of revelation is quiet but profound, a fragile hope amid relentless violence. Yet deep down, Summaries fears that the gauntlet's true purpose has yet to be revealed. The Queen's collectors strike again, capturing several of Summaries' allies. She pursues them through the broken streets, witnessing firsthand the extent of the Crown's cruelty. When she finally confronts them atop the ruined towers, she faces Sarush once more. Their rematch is devastating, each blow shaking the city foundations. This time, Sarush doesn't fight to kill but to recruit. He offers her a chance to join him, to rule beside the Queen, to shape the world as she sees fit. Summaries nearly falters, tempted by the promise of power without pain. But when she sees the faces of the captives, she refuses. She leaps from the tower into the raging river below, surviving only because the Quicksilver within her seals her wounds. The fall leaves her broken but unyielding. Summaries awakens in a smuggler's den, tended by those who refuse to kneel to any crown. Here, she meets the remnants of an ancient order, the Keepers of the Gate, who once guarded the balance between worlds. They recognize her as both savior and threat. One elder tells her that the Quicksilver inside her is a fragment of the Shadow Gate itself, torn from the veil when it was first sealed. If she dies, the gate could open again. The knowledge terrifies her but also steels her resolve. The Keepers train her in ways to channel her energy, teaching her the ancient art of binding will to word. Each lesson is grueling, but Summaries' strength grows alongside her understanding. By the time she leaves, her chains, both literal and emotional, are broken. To find Hayden and uncover the Queen's full plan, Summaries must locate the original design of the Shadow Gate. She seeks out the mapmaker, a blind cartographer who records not places but energies. His maps are alive, shifting with the world's pulse. When he reads Summaries' aura, he recoils. It burns like liquid silver. He tells her that the Queen intends to reopen the gate during the Blood Eclipse, a celestial event that happens once every 1,000 years. The mapmaker gives her a piece of living parchment that reacts to Quicksilver, showing her the paths between realms. Before she departs, he warns that every path has a price, and every destination a debt. Summaries infiltrates the Queen's masquerade, a decadent event known as the Feast of Ashes. Beneath chandeliers of bone and glass, nobles drink crimson wine while slaves serve in silence. Disguised in silver and shadow, Summaries dances through the crowd, her mission simple: to retrieve the Queen's sigil, which holds the power to control the Gauntlet's twin. The tension builds as she navigates through deceit and seduction. When she finally reaches the Queen, their eyes meet, and for a heartbeat, the world stops. The Queen smiles knowingly, as if she's been expecting her. The encounter ends in chaos, a duel of wills, both women blazing with power. Summaries escapes, the sigil in hand, but not before the Queen marks her with a curse that burns deep into her chest. The curse begins to spread, threading veins of crimson through Summaries' silver-marked skin. Varen identifies it as a blood tether, an ancient face spell that binds life to life. Now, Summaries' heartbeat is tied to the Queen's. If one dies, so does the other. This revelation changes everything. Killing the Queen is no longer an option. Summaries must find a way to sever the bond without unleashing the Quicksilver's fury. She and Varen venture into forgotten catacombs, seeking forbidden knowledge. The further they go, the more Summaries hears whispers not from the Gauntlet but from something older, something that calls itself the Source. It promises freedom in exchange for surrender. Deep beneath the ruins, Summaries discovers the source of the Quicksilver, a vast pool of living metal, pulsing with light and voices. It is neither sentient nor mindless, a force that mirrors the intentions of those who touch it. As Summaries approaches, it recognizes her blood and speaks in echoes of her own thoughts. The revelation is shattering. The Gauntlet was never meant to enslave, but to connect. It was forged by mortals who sought unity with the Fae and instead unleashed chaos. The Source offers Summaries a choice: merge with it completely and rewrite her fate, or walk away and let the world burn. She hesitates, feeling both temptation and terror. Summaries and Varen return to the surface, only to find Zilverin on the brink of war. The Queen's army marches through the lower wards, burning everything in their path. Rebels rally under Summaries' name, calling her the Silver Flame. Despite her exhaustion, she leads them into battle. Her connection with the Quicksilver allows her to anticipate the enemy's movements, turning chaos into strategy. For the first time, She commands an army not through fear but through faith. The battle is brutal and costly, but when dawn breaks, the city still stands. Ceres knows this victory is temporary. The queen will strike again, harder, and with power Ceres has yet to face. After the battle, Ceres discovers a new mark burned into her shoulder, a pattern identical to the sigil on the queen's crown. It glows faintly whenever she uses the gauntlet, linking their powers even more tightly. The realization sends waves of dread through her. Every time she fights, the queen grows stronger too. She isolates herself, fearing what she might become. In a rare moment of quiet, Fisher returns, the man who once saved her life. He reminds her that strength doesn't lie in purity, but in persistence. Together, they plan to confront the queen before the blood eclipse begins. The mark on her skin pulses in agreement, as if acknowledging the inevitability of what's to come. The chapter opens with Ceres seeking answers from those who once served the queen. She confronts nobles, priests, and ghosts of the past, piecing together the true origin of the monarchy's power. Every lie she unravels reveals another chain linking the mortal and fey realms. The phrase, "just ask," becomes symbolic. Each question she dares to voice tears another veil between truth and deception. In the palace dungeons, she meets a prisoner who claims to be the queen's twin, locked away since birth. He tells her that the crown's power was stolen, not earned, and that the curse linking Ceres to the queen was born from that theft. The revelation sets Ceres' path in motion. She will face the queen not as her enemy, but as her mirror. Ceres learns that the queen's true name is Isabel, a name that carries ancient power. To speak it aloud is to summon storms. She realizes that the curse connecting them runs deeper than blood. It's built on the magic of names and identity. As the blood eclipse draws near, Ceres prepares for the final confrontation. Her allies gather: Varen, Fisher, the rebels, and even remnants of the Fae who recognize her strength. The night before the battle, she dreams of Hayden standing beside the Shadow Gate, his eyes silver and kind. He tells her that every story must circle back to its beginning. When she wakes, she knows what she must do: face Isabel not with hate, but understanding. The final battle erupts under a blood-red sky. The Shadow Gate trembles as both Ceres and Isabel draw upon the Quicksilver's power. Their duel is cosmic, light and shadow tearing the fabric of reality. Each strike releases memories of the past, showing them how they were bound by fate long before they met. The curse between them burns until both are brought to their knees. Ceres realizes that victory doesn't mean killing the queen, it means balance. She reaches out, merging her will with Isabel's, channeling the Quicksilver into the gate itself. The portal seals with a deafening roar, consuming the curse and freeing them both. When the dust settles, the queen is gone, the gate silent, and Ceres stands alone beneath the dying eclipse, her veins glowing faintly. The world is scarred but saved. Ceres, the thief who once stole a gauntlet, has stolen destiny itself. The war may have ended, but Zilverin is left hollow. Smoke curls above the broken towers, and the scent of ash lingers in the air like a memory refusing to fade. Ceres walks through the ruined streets, her boots echoing in the silence. People whisper her name as she passes: the Silver Flame, the thief of destiny, the woman who ended the blood eclipse. She doesn't feel like a hero. The Quicksilver inside her hums softly, restless, as if reminding her that endings are never clean. In the shadows, scavengers pick through bodies, and Ceres helps them burn the dead with reverence, whispering the names of those she can remember. Every loss feels personal. In the stillness of the aftermath, Ceres realizes she must decide what comes next, for herself, for her city, and for the power still coiled within her blood. Council fires burn as the remnants of the rebellion gather to rebuild. Leaders argue over territory, trade, and the fragile new order taking shape. Ceres watches in silence, sensing that their peace is built on sand. When a messenger from the northern Fae courts arrives, bearing a warning about tremors in the Shadow Gate, the fragile calm fractures. The Fae believe that Isabel's death, or transformation, has left a void in the balance between worlds. Ceres must face the possibility that by sealing the gate, she may have trapped something inside it, or left something behind. Her nightmares return, whispering voices, silver eyes, and a river of light beneath her skin. She cannot rest until she knows the truth. Sayeri's journeys beyond the ruins to the edge of the Silver Vale, a misted valley where time bends and fey magic bleeds through. Varen and Fisher accompany her, though both sense the danger in every breath of that land. The deeper they travel, the stranger the world becomes. Trees that whisper, shadows that move against the light, rivers that shimmer with liquid metal. In the heart of the Vale, Sayeri feels herself splitting, two voices, two wills, battling for control. She realizes that a fragment of Isabel may still live inside her, bound through the last remnants of the curse. It speaks to her not with anger, but with sorrow, asking her to finish what they began. The revelation breaks her heart. The queen was never truly destroyed, only remade within her. A sudden quake tears through the Silver Vale, splitting the ground open. From the chasm rises a creature unlike any she has seen, an amalgam of light, bone, and molten quicksilver. Varen calls it a shade, the memory of the gate-given form. It attacks without mercy, feeding on the energy that binds Sayeri's blood. The battle is brutal and chaotic, silver light and shadow clashing in a storm of creation and destruction. In the end, Sayeri drives the creature back into the rift, but not before it leaves a mark on her, a deep wound that glows with faint luminescence. As she collapses, she understands that this was only a herald. Something greater is stirring beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Recovering in a forgotten monastery, Sayeri reflects on her journey. She dreams of her childhood, of Hayden's laughter, and of the night she first stole the gauntlet. Every event feels interconnected, as if her life has been one long chain leading to this point. Varen confesses that he once served under Isabel's alchemists, tasked with studying the Quicksilver's divine nature. He reveals that the metal remembers every soul it touches. It holds the memories of the world itself. Sayeri understands now why she feels echoes of so many voices inside her. She is carrying not just her own spirit, but fragments of those who came before. The burden feels unbearable, but also sacred. She resolves to uncover the last truth the gate is hiding. Guided by Varen's maps, Sayeri and her companions reach the lost archive of Summaries, an underground library set to contain the chronicles of the first alchemists. The air is heavy with age, and silver threads glint in the walls. In the heart of the archive, they find records of the first forging, the creation of the gauntlets that bridged realms. The texts speak of a prophecy, a bearer who would unite both sides of the veil or destroy them forever. Sayeri finally sees her fate written in the old tongue, her name scrawled beside symbols of flame and water. The realization shakes her, but it also steels her. The prophecy was never about destiny, it was a warning of choice. Fisher's betrayal cuts deep. When the rebels' council offers him amnesty and power, he accepts, believing that Sayeri's growing connection to the Fae is too dangerous to trust. His soldiers ambush her in the ruins of the archive, binding her with runes that suppress her magic. For a moment, she feels the sting of true helplessness again. But when Fisher faces her, guilt flashing in his eyes, she forgives him. Her compassion disarms his resolve, and the runes falter. The Quicksilver surges free, burning the bindings away. She leaves him alive but broken, reminding him that trust, once lost, can still be reforged, just sharper than before. Tremors ripple across Silverin as the Shadow Gate reawakens. Silver storms rage in the sky, and fey creatures cross into the mortal realm. Sayeri returns to the city, its streets filled with chaos and wonder. The people who once feared her now look to her as their last hope. Varen deciphers the mapmaker's parchment one last time. It shows that the gate is trying to rewrite reality, blending the two worlds together. Sayeri gathers every ally she can, rebels, fey emissaries, and even the repentant Fisher. Together they march toward the gate, ready to face whatever waits beyond it. The gate's core is alive, pulsing like a massive heart of metal and light. As Sayeri steps into its glow, the voices of the Quicksilver rise in a symphony of echoes. They call her unbound, the one who broke the chain. But they also warn her that unbinding has consequences. To stabilize the worlds, she must release the Quicksilver's essence back into the source, severing her connection to it forever. The cost is clear. She will lose her power, her strength, and perhaps her life. Varen pleads for another way, but Sayeri knows that balance requires sacrifice. Summaries enters the heart of the gate alone. Inside, she finds a mirror of herself, half light, half shadow. It speaks with her voice and eyes ablaze together, asking if she's ready to let go. Every memory, every triumph, every scar flashes before her eyes. She places her hand against the mirrored form, and the quicksilver surges outward, flowing into the air like rivers of light. Pain sears through her body, but she stands firm, channeling every ounce of her will into the act of creation. When it's over, the gate grows still, its light dimming into calm. The worlds begin to separate, and silence returns. Summaries awakens in the ruins of the gate, weak but alive. The quicksilver is gone from her veins. Her hands are bare and human again. Varen kneels beside her, tears streaking his face. Around them, the sky clears, revealing dawn for the first time in months. The Fae retreat through the closing veil, leaving behind a fragile peace. Summaries feels hollow but free. The voices that once haunted her are silent, replaced by the faint rhythm of her own heartbeat. She realizes that for the first time in her life, she belongs wholly to herself. Weeks pass as Zilverin rebuilds. The rebels form a new council, one that welcomes both human and Fae representatives. Trade resumes, schools reopen, and hope flickers back to life. Summaries refuses all offers of power, choosing instead to work among the people, repairing homes, tending to orphans, teaching them how to forge safely. She becomes a myth made flesh, a living reminder of what sacrifice means. When children ask her if the silver flame still burns, she smiles and says, "It burns wherever someone refuses to bow." One quiet morning, Summaries receives a letter sealed in silver wax. It bears Hayden's handwriting. Her hands tremble as she reads it. He's alive, living beyond the mountains with survivors who escaped the war. He writes of finding a fragment of the gauntlet, buried in the earth and pulsing faintly. He promises to keep it hidden until she comes for it. Summaries smiles through tears, realizing that the story isn't over, that threads of the past still weave into the future. She decides to journey to him, not as a savior or legend, but as a sister who finally has something worth living for. Summaries travels north, through forests reborn with silver dew. Along the way, she meets wanderers who speak her name as legend, yet she feels lighter with every step. Varen and Fisher accompany her partway before turning back, leaving her to walk the final miles alone. She carries no weapon, only a pendant of quicksilver now inert, a memory of power once held and released. The wind hums softly, carrying distant echoes of laughter and whispers of peace. Summaries feels the world healing around her, slowly but surely. At the edge of the mountains, Summaries finds Hayden waiting beside a small forge built from the ruins of their childhood home. He greets her not with words, but with an embrace that feels like sunlight after endless night. Together they rebuild, one spark at a time. The forge roars back to life, its flames pure and golden. As they work, Summaries catches glimpses of silver glimmers in the metal, traces of the past reminding her that nothing truly fades, it only transforms. When night falls, she looks toward the horizon, where the faint shimmer of the sealed gate still glows in the distance. She smiles softly, knowing that the world will remember, and that her story, like Quicksilver, will always find a way to flow. Summaries' journey from thief to savior, from hunted girl to legend, mirrors the essence of transformation itself. Power tested her, love anchored her, and sacrifice defined her. In the end, Quicksilver isn't just a tale of rebellion and alchemy, it's a meditation on identity, the cost of freedom, and the courage to change. The city of Zilverin stands as a symbol of resilience, its people living proof that even after devastation, hope can be reforged. And as Summaries fades into myth, one truth remains: destiny is not something found, it is something forged.